natural fit to the way they develop. Our guys absolutely love it, alongside the other projects that we use. Dave did more of an intro to it, to how it works and how you might use it last year at SimCon, which is still available on Vimeo if you want to watch it. And he's going to go a bit further this year. But unfortunately, he got to Bristol and then felt kind of ill. So I think he's held up in the hotel that you've all been staying at. So kind of weirdly, he's going to present by video from the hotel the other side of town. Do we have Dave on the video, Martin?
Yep, I'm here.
Hi, Dave. I don't know how much of that you heard, but welcome. Are you feeling better?
Yes, yeah, I'm feeling a little better. I'm actually only made it as far as Bath, so I came up 20 miles short.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. Well, I'll hand it over to you, sir. Away you go. I'm going to be driving your slides, so shout when you want the next one.
Okay, will do. Well, yeah, really bummed that I can't be there with everybody. When I told my wife I was going to this conference, she said, "Hey, why don't you just, present it remotely?" And I said, "No, I'm definitely going to go." And not only that, I upped the ante and decided to go through Paris on the way there because my daughter lives in Paris, and I picked up some kind of cold bug from her. Can you guys hear me okay? Because I'm not getting any audio anymore.
Hear you fine.
Can you hear me? You can hear me. Okay, good. Anyways, so sorry I can't be there, but this is probably just for the best. Do it remotely. A couple logistical things on my presentation. The main part of it is a kind of hands-on walkthrough. So given all the moving pieces now of doing it remotely, including a kind of dodgy internet situation at my hotel, what I've done for that piece of it is take a video of a screen this morning, and we'll show that when I get to that piece of it. So you may want to be closer to the screen because you're going to want to be looking at being able to see my screen and see what I'm doing. Okay, I guess if you could put up the first slide, Simon, that would be great. Okay, so sorry, I'm just confused by the feedback. Sometimes I'm getting feedback, sometimes I'm not. About a day after I sent out the title for this topic, peanut butter and chocolate, I realized that it was a reference that was probably dated in time and place. Wouldn't make sense to most people, but it's a reference to an old ad campaign in the US for Reese's peanut butter cups, and they had a tagline that was "two great tastes that taste great together." And I was making a reference to that in terms of Drachtio and Simwood, two things that I love, and trying to put something together, leverage both of them. And to do that, what I did is build an open a Dialogflow phone gateway on open source that you can run on your own infrastructure, which integrates with Simwood trunks and Simwood DIDs. And I'll talk a little bit more about why you might want to do that in a few slides. But first, brief introduction of me. Now I'm having trouble reading my own slides. Let me just bring them up on my side so I can kind of see what I got going on here. Okay. Sorry. As Simon mentioned, I'm the creator of Drachtio SIP server framework. Pretty much a VoIP old timer, maybe just plain old timer. I've been in VoIP since 1999. I spent most of the early 2000s in a company that was helping mostly carriers transition their infrastructure from TDM to VoIP, which was quite interesting. And then more recently doing open source. So I've sort of been 10 years building commercial stuff in the VoIP area, and then 10 years building open source stuff in the VoIP area, which I think is a little different. I'm a big rugby fan, and to me, it seems a lot like someone moving from rugby league to rugby union or something. It happens, but not that often. So I've had a foot in both worlds. If you go to the next slide, that would be good. Sorry. So why I do open source? Well, probably not for the reason you might think. I actually don't think I'm even that much of an altruistic type of person, although it results in altruistic kind of behavior. Really, I do open source because my goals are simple. First, I want to make a living. That's sort of a necessity. That's not really my main goal. My main goal is I want to do what I enjoy doing, perform my craft at the highest level possible for me. And when you think about doing things that way, you have to think about the environment that you need to create for yourself to perform at your best level. And open source offers that to me. It offers what I would describe as a frictionless development process. Everything is so much faster. I'm able to move so much faster. There's so many points of friction that you don't really even realize when you're in a typical commercial environment. And I won't go through them all now, but this is really why I choose to do things open source. I want to go faster, further than anyone, and I need an environment that lets me do that. I also put one of my favorite quotes there at the bottom, which I also had in my slides last year, by this historian. If you want to go deeply into any subject, you need a lot of time, and in particular, you need the privilege of wasting time. You need to go down a lot of rabbit holes. That's, we all know from various learning experiences, that's the only way really to learn. It's very hard to go down a lot of rabbit holes in a commercial environment. In an open source environment, it's much easier for you to say, well, should I refactor this code I just spent a day writing when it's actually good enough to ship? Open source offers that privilege as well. So that's why I'm in the open source game. But enough about me. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, so this is what I want to focus on in my talk. There's a lot going on in the industry today in the convergence of bots and AI and contact centers, and driven by a few things. One is that consumers are having the Alexa experience at home, and they're now expecting the same thing when they call in to corporate entities. And it's becoming more and more obvious how bad IVRs are and have been for some time. Alexa can remember a song choice I made. I asked her for 3 months ago. My hospital's IVR can't even remember my patient code that I entered at the front end when I end up talking to an agent at the back end. So it's just ripe for improvement. And now there are a lot of tools that are coming together to drive that. A lot of opportunities for machine learning. You've got hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of people going through the same interactions. It's hard to believe you can't learn an incredible amount from that and fine tune that. Omnichannel, or just the concept of having a single way of dealing with people regardless of how they're coming in, whether it's chat, text, or voice. And of course, good old hype, fear of getting left behind is driving a lot of interest by a lot of companies as well. And the goals, or what they're looking for out of it, are to A, successfully automate more interactions, but almost just as importantly, to augment human agents with tools, what I call inorganic intelligence, to make human agents have a little bit more superpower when it comes to pulling up the right answer at the right time for the person. So this is kind of a general area where they're going on. Next slide, please. Google has its product in this area, Dialogflow, which many of you will be familiar with. And there are several telephony integrations that are offered out of the box. There's the dial phone gateway itself. And then there's 2 or 3 other options that they list on their page, which are all great solutions. Next slide. Having said that, what new can we bring to the table here? What problem are we trying to solve? Well, there's a couple of problems that we can solve here. Google's native phone gateway is fine, but it doesn't support call transfer to non-US numbers, which I actually didn't realize that until a customer told me that, and then fooled around, and it's kind of unbelievable to me, but anyways, there it is. So that's not of much use in the whole rest of the world. The third-party services are good too, but it's probably not a one-size-fits-all. There, you know, if you want to use your Simwood DIDs and route to your own server, you want complete calls through Simwood trunks. There may be ways to do it with a third-party solutions, but at that point, you know, you're paying Dialogflow to do Dialogflow. You're paying Simwood for the voice traffic, and then you're paying a third party to kind of sit in between. And that cost, maybe you don't want to pay that cost. So the cost of the third-party solutions. And then the last point is you may have special requirements that can't be met by any of these solutions, and you want to be able to tune your gateway and customize it and integrate it. And that really gets to what I see as a basic underlying issue driving a lot of this, which is that Dialogflow makes it really easy to integrate your back-end fulfillment logic. I mean, it has tight integration. It's all about that. But the voice gateway is kind of kept at arm's length. It's with really limited ability to integrate or customize to your needs. And when I do the hands-on part, I'll show you some examples of that and show you how, when you get control of that, you have options for solving those problems. Okay, next slide. So the goals for today's session, twofold. One, I want to show you how to run an open source Dialogflow phone gateway on your own hosted infrastructure using Simwood trunks and DIDs for inbound as well as call transfer. And in the course of doing that, hopefully give you a little bit of an introduction, but really probably not too much, and kind of a speed round introduction to building applications with Dialogflow, but maybe give you a taste of it. Okay, next slide. Okay, so this is a little bit of a do-it-yourself kit. So when you were a kid at Christmas and you got a do-it-yourself electronic kit, you probably, first thing you did, probably dump it on the floor and look at all the pieces, and that kind of gaze in wonder and enjoy what you were about to embark on. So let's look at the pieces here. On the left, we've got Simwood gateways, and then we're going to spin up an AWS VM to run all this stuff. It doesn't actually need to be on one VM, but it's easy enough, makes sense to do that. And there are basically three things on that VM. There's the Drachtio SIP server. It's going to be driven by a Node.js app, this Drachtio Dialogflow phone gateway. And freeswitch is going to be running on there. And freeswitch is going to use a plugin module that I created, mod Dialogflow, which is going to talk to Dialogflow. So that's basically what we've got going on this VM that we're going to spin up. Okay, I think, oh yeah, one more slide, I think, before the hands-on part. So next slide. So for demonstration purposes, I'm just using a pretty simple little Dialogflow agent. We'll take a look at it in a second. Developed by a friend of mine, Chad Hart, who you may have heard of, who does a lot of work in this area, and his website is there. It's kind of a great resource to go check out. But this Dialogflow agent is a pretty simple one. As I said, it's about a research report that he wrote, and it has intents like, or questions you can ask, like, who are the authors, how much does it cost? You can do a call transfer, speak to an agent. There's a discount code that can be entered. One of the things that I want to show is how you can use either speech or dtmf to take certain pieces of information. So those are the kinds of, and there's probably another 10 sort of intents, but that's basically what it is. All right, so at this point, I think if you can queue up the screencast, we can kick things off. And then I'll come back at the end with a few concluding slides and take any questions.
First thing we need to do is make sure our Dialogflow project is set up for voice integration. So here's the project, and we just need to do a couple of things. First of all, we need to make sure this beta features is enabled, which it is. And if we go over to the speech tab, we need to make sure that enable automatic text to speech is enabled, and that we've selected an output audio recording, which I've selected and recommend MP3. So we're all set there. Let's now go and spin up an AMI. I'm searching for Simwood, Drachtio. And it's probably going to cause me to need to log in again. Do that. Let's go back to EC2. And launch instance. Okay. Try it again. Simwood, Drachtio. One result in community AMI. So this is what we're going to use. I'm going to select this one. I'm going to take pretty much all the defaults. One thing I am going to do is use an existing security group that I've created for Simwood that allows basically traffic in from Simwood. So in this security group, I've allowing SIP traffic in 5060 in from the Simwood gateways. The RTP traffic is going to be coming in ports 40,000 to 60,000. I'm allowing those in from anywhere. All right, let's go ahead, spin that up, and launch it. It's going to take a minute to come up. But while it does, let's go over to the Simwood portal and do two things here. Let's configure my DID to point to it. Let's see, I've got this London number. And I'll just paste in the new IP there. And I'll go to my trunk. Got a trunk that I call SimCon. Go to authorized IPs. And I did that, although I can't tell if that 35.176.230, 233, 39. Good. So there's that there. My instance is, looks like it's up. Let's copy that one more time. Now, one thing I need to do is copy a JSON key for authenticating to Dialogflow onto the server. So let me do that. All right, here's my key from my local computer. I'm just going to upload that. Good. Now let's go ahead and log into the server. Okay, it's not too much here. There's a Node.js application under this Drachtio Dialogflow phone gateway. And the configuration file, I'm running the Node application under PM2 Process Manager, and the configuration is this ecosystem, config.js, which we'll look at in a second. And this is my JSON key that I just uploaded. Let's look at that configuration file. And it sets some environment variables, one of which is the path to that configuration file. So I need to change that. Let's go ahead and put that in there. And the second thing I need to put in is the Dialogflow project ID. I'm messing things up here, which we can get from Dialogflow panel. It's this project ID here that you want. Oops, and that's, gosh, problematic. Well, okay. There we go. Now we should be good to go. I'm going to restart things. Okay, it's up and running. Now I should be able to make a call in. I'm going to try put my phone on speaker so you can hear, and it should hit this.
Good day. What questions do you have on the AI and RTC report? Ask me things like what is the methodology?
Who are the authors of the report?
Sahi Levin Levi and Chad Hart. Ask me about Chad or Sahi for more information.
How many pages is the report?
147 full pages.
How much does the report cost?
The report is regularly priced at only $1,500. That's a deal.
Okay, I've hung up. All right, so there we are, a couple of quick steps, and we have Dialogflow Gateway up and running, integrated in one direction with Simwood. Let's look now at doing a call transfer. And to do that, first let's go back and look at our Dialogflow project. Let me look at some of the intents here. So you can see these are the intents, and I hit a few of them before. Who are the authors? How much does it cost, etc. How many pages? We've got an intent called talk to agent, and then it's got a follow-on intent, talk to agent, which just confirms. So if we look at talk to agent, it's got training phrases like I'd like to speak to an operator, I'd like to speak to Chad, etc., etc. But the follow-up intent is where we confirm and then we actually do the call transfer. So let's have a look at that. Now the issue is the telephony response is not going to work because we're not calling a US number. So what we're going to use is a custom payload. Dialogflow has this concept of custom payloads where you can return a JSON object to the phone gateway, and this is quite useful. Here we're going to play a text, please hold while we connect you, and then we're going to return this custom payload. And by convention it has a verb, by my convention, a verb dial, and then a target type is phone, and then a phone number. That phone number is just a local Bristol number I picked. I think it's the Bristol City Council or something like that. But by including this custom payload, the Drachtio Dialogflow Gateway will see that we want to do a call transfer, and it will do a call transfer to that number. So let's go ahead and try that.
Good day. What questions do you have on the AI and RTC report? Ask me things like what is the methodology?
Can I speak to Chad?
You want to speak to Chad?
Yes, I do.
Please hold while we connect you.
Welcome to Bristol City Council. Please say the name of the person, department or service which you want to reach.
Okay, so there we go. Call transfer working. That's sorted. Now let's look at something else, which is dtmf entry. Go back to our agent and look at our intents. And we've got an intent discount code. And basically, it's meant to be, I've got a discount code, you put in your discount code, and that gets applied to a purchase. And we're doing some slot filling here with this code value, which basically means the way I can, or that a caller can respond to this, excuse me, is I can either say, provide the discount code, in one shot, like, can I use my discount code of 54321? Or I could say, I have a discount code. It would then prompt me to enter the discount code. And in that latter case, we want to be able to either say the discount code or enter it via dtmf. So let's go back and try that. Well, let's see what's going on. I'm having trouble making a call here.
Hi, I can answer questions on the KGRAI in real-time communications report. Ask questions like, when was it written?
I have a discount code of 54321.
Great, we will apply your discount code of 54321 to any purchase.
Can I use a discount code?
Please say or enter your discount code.
54321.
Great, we will apply your discount code of 54321 to any purchase.
Can I use a discount code?
Please say or enter your discount code. Great, we will apply your discount code of 54321 to any purchase.
Okay, good. So dtmf is working. Why is it working? Well, if we go back here to that configuration file, you can see we have Dialogflow enable dtmf always as an environment variable. Basically, if that's set, we're always collecting dtmf with an interdigit timeout, which defaults to 3 seconds, but can be set to something different. And when that interdigit timeout is triggered, then we send the digits, whatever's been collected, as a text to the Dialogflow project. So it's as if someone had texted those digits. And that's why dtmf works. Okay, let's look at a couple of smaller things that have to do with the difference between do and voice interaction, conversational voice interaction, and chat or text. There's a few things that are just different about voice. One is timeouts, the concept of timeouts. If I'm chatting with someone on a website, a typical sport website, a little chat window, it's perfectly fine, and I don't feel it's strange if I don't get a response in 20 or 30 seconds, because I'm assuming that person is going off digging up information for me. In a conversational interaction, if I say something and I don't hear anything back for 20 or 30 seconds, that seems awkward and that something's gone wrong. So the basic, the defaults, the normal defaults that exist in Dialogflow don't really work well for voice. So one thing we've done is make the no input timeout configurable. Here it's set to, that's milliseconds, so 15 seconds. So you can set it to more or less, depending. That's one thing that can be useful. Another thing that you have in a chat window is while that agent is off, or that bot or whatever is off collecting information, there's often a little typing bubble that it kind of lets me know that that person is working. He's doing something. He's going to come back to me. In voice, by default, we just have silence. And so if I've asked a question of you and there's 5 seconds of silence, let's say, that's not a normal conversational interaction. So one of the things we might do, just for fun, we can do is another environment variable called Dialogflow thinking sound, which will play some audio when I stop talking until Dialogflow has come back to me with an intent. Now I'm having trouble remembering where that file is, so let's have a quick look. Maybe it was in sounds. Yes. I'm going to put this. All right. All right, let's just see what it sounds like now when I do that.
Hi, I can answer questions on the KGRAI in real-time communications report. Ask questions like, when was it written?
Who is Chad Hart?
RFQ says Chad Hart is an independent consultant and blogger at webrtchacks.com.
So you can see it just plays a little typing sound while Dialogflow is doing its work. The typing sound starts after my utterance has completed until I get an intent back from Dialogflow. Maybe useful, maybe not. Another issue in conversational experience is sort of talkover or barging in. If I'm talking or you're talking and then I start talking while you're still talking, usually you will stop. It's kind of a signal that I got what you were telling me and I want to move on to something else. In a chat or text kind of situation, you get downloaded a bunch of information in one chunk, which is fine. But when it's being read out to you in voice, you have to wait through all of it to complete in the default Dialogflow scenario before you ask your next question. Now I've changed it so you don't need to do that. You can ask a question in the middle of the previous question. There's still a little sort of talkover. Let's try it out to show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to ask who is Chad Hart, which is quite a long answer. And then I'm going to ask a separate question. You'll see I continue to get a little more information about Chad Hart before my second question gets answered.
Hello. You can ask me about the KGRAI and RTC report. Ask questions such as how much does it cost?
Who is Chad Hart?
I missed that. Say that again.
Who is Chad Hart?
RFQ says Chad Hart is an independent consultant.
How many pages in the report?
WebRTCHacks.com and Cogent.ai, a blog focused on the complete report is 147 pages long.
So again, you can see there's just a little bit of a delay in the killing of the playback, which is fine, but again, it's, from a conversational standpoint, it's just slightly off. For fun, I added another environment variable, which is a phrase I can use to kill it more quickly if I want to. So let's just say that I want my if I say copy that, I want Dialogflow to know that it should terminate immediately, or the gateway. All right, let's try that again.
Good day. What questions do you have on the AI and RTC report? Ask me things like, what is the methodology?
Who is Chad Hart?
Chad Hart is an independent consultant and blogger at WebRTCHacks.com.
Copy that. How much does the report cost?
The report is regularly priced.
Okay, so you can see it kind of quickly stops if I use my bargain phrase. These are just small things you may not be interested in using. The point is, when you control the phone gateway, you can make it do anything you want for your needs. If these aren't the things you need, there may be other things you need, and you can add whatever you want to the code to do it. Now let's pivot a little bit and talk about agent augmentation. It turns out that Dialogflow sends a lot of great information back to the phone gateway about the intents that have been detected, about the transcripts, and so forth. And that information, you can imagine, could easily be fed downstream into your own AI pipeline, for instance, so that when a call eventually gets to an agent after it's been through a Dialogflow, they have perhaps a full transcript of the call on Dialogflow. Perhaps they have suggestions on documents to pull up, or documents are already pulled up. So when it comes to agent augmentation, there's some integration we can think about as well. To kind of illustrate that, I built a small little UI, which will show the conversation kind of in real time as it progresses. So let's have a look at that. I'm going to need the IP address again. And I'm going to connect to it in my little GUI. And make yet another call.
Hi, I can answer questions on the KGRAI in real-time communications report. Ask questions like, when was it written?
It's not connecting. Why is that? Excuse me. All right, let's try this again. Sorry, I'm having trouble operating my phone here. Let's do this again. Speak. Okay, there we go.
Hi, I can answer questions on the KGRAI in real-time communications report. Ask questions like, when was it written?
No, I'm not too sure.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, apologies. This part is not working today, and I'm not sure why. Oh well, problems of a dangerous demo. But the point is, there is a lot of useful information that does come back from Dialogflow, and we can send it downstream to other processes on your side that could be useful. Okay, that's most of the hands-on demo. Let me just quickly show you some of the code to give you a sense of what's involved in making changes should you want to, or what a Drachtio application looks like. Let me try to switch to a different color theme that you might be able to see a little better. Okay, this is the main application, or the main application file, and it looks like a lot of Drachtio files. Pretty much boilerplate, connecting to the Drachtio server, and doing some middleware. In this case, I got two pieces of middleware. I have initializing some logging, and then I've got some middleware for Fred's API band that I'm installing and using. And then I'm handling invites. So basically, this middleware will get executed first, and only then will the call proceed to using an invite, or to handling the invite. And in the invite, I create a new call session object, which is an event emitter, and then I execute it. Down here is a listening on a WebSocket for those real-time updates that I meant to feed downstream, and I'm not sure why it did not work. If I look at the call session, which is the main class that pretty much does everything, you can see when a call comes in, we connect it to the media server, the freeswitch. We have a couple of conceptual objects here. We have a media server, we have an endpoint on the media server, we have a SIP dialog. And really what we're doing here is pretty simple. We are running, we're using mod Dialogflow. So we are over and over sending a streaming detect intent request to Dialogflow and then getting back intents, transcriptions, audio, and other stuff. So we set up our listeners for that, and then pretty much that's it. When an intent comes back, we handle it. We look at what's going on, and depending on what was going on, we may do something like a call transfer. We may hang up, we may collect dtmf, etc. I'm not going to show any more of it. It's pretty straightforward, but I'm just wanting to give you a sense that it is something that you can easily get your arms around and change and add your own stuff to it. Okay, that's the hands-on demo part of building a Dialogflow phone gateway using Drachtio that integrates with Simwood.
Okay. I guess we can go back to the slides now and go to the next slide. So yeah, basically just to recap everything we just did in a few bullet points, if you wanted to do this on your own, that AMI that I spun up is out there for anyone in the world to use. It's in the London region. But if you search in community AMIs, you find it. You can spin up a VM. You got to set that security group for the Simwood SIP traffic. Then we copied our JSON key on. We edited the configuration file and restarted it. We pointed our Simwood DID to it and updated the trunk, and that was it. We were good to go. So feel free to go and try that out on your own. Now, if you want to build your own AMI, I've got a Packer script for that. Checked into GitHub at the location noted there. This particular version of the application that we're running is on the Simwood branch, so make sure you use the Simwood branch. But under there, there's a Packer subdirectory. With that, you can build your own AMI on any in any region that you want. Next slide, which I think is my final slide. Oh, not my final slide. Yes, continuing to recap. So for the call transfer, using a custom payload in a format that looks like this. Next slide. And yeah, that's it. People sometimes ask if I do consulting around Drachtio. I definitely do, so feel free to reach out if you want my help. I'd love people contributing either code or documentation or what have you to the repos. Love to build a bigger team of contributors in this over this coming year. And thanks again for listening.
Thank you, Dave. That was great, and thanks especially for open sourcing the demo code. That's much appreciated. Any questions for Dave? I can see some of you watching fairly intently there, so I expect this video is going to be played back a bit afterwards. Mr. Jenkins, hang on, let me bring this mic over.
How much do you like writing agents in Dialogflow?
I'm not very good at it, I don't think. I had to develop a little bit skill in order to put this demo together. So I don't love it as much as I love other things.
Yeah, they're a real pain to make, but they're amazing once you've done them.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Dialogflow. I've never used it, but from what I saw on the screen, are you having to the whole voice detection and routing piece Where does that fit in? You have to provide Dialogflow with sample phrases, or is there some other way?
Yeah, yes, that's pretty straightforward, actually. You create these things called intents, and then for each intent, you give it a list of training phrases. You just bang them right in, you type them right in. And Dialogflow goes through this training process that it self-described, and basically that's it.
Fabulous. Well, I'll have a look. Oh, we got another question.
I don't know if anyone's got any experience, but how does it react to English accents?
Fairly well. Annoyingly, so yeah, you can put in different language codes. And so there's an ENGB language code and an ENUS language code. Then there's an EN language code. The EN one actually works much better for everyone, strangely. So yeah, you can play around with it in many different forms, but it does actually work pretty damn well for different English accents and Scottish and Irish, and like, let's be inclusive here. And well, yeah, I mean.
Do they count? I don't know. Ask Dave. He lived there. That's fabulous. Any more questions for Dave? No? In which case, Dave, thank you very much, and I hope you continue to feel better.
All right. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Dave.
See you guys.